So you may not have known, but we've literally worked with ultra wealthy families for years. There's 5 key habits that I've found that all of them have applied in relation to their wealth and taxes. One of the things that I want to do is on this show, take a few moments and talk to you about the roadmap, the things necessary for you to literally walk down the path of doing what you need to do so you can build your wealth with these same habits. You know, here's what's interesting. Wealthy families and wealthy individuals that have not just inherited wealth typically have similarities. The challenge is there's so much noise and so much information out there on social and through media and through print today that it can be challenging to really know, what do I need to do? What should I actually apply to my life, which will help me get to where I need to go? So I'm going to share with you on this show the 5 key habits that I have found through the other companies that I've had for years, over 25 years of other companies in the financial industry, helping families invest their wealth, reduce taxes, and a variety of other things. Those companies still exist, so we're seeing it live, and I want to share some of those habits and ideas to you so you can apply them to your life. All right, what's the first thing that we see? The first thing is they think in decades, not paychecks. In other words, they think long-term. At the companies that I have that help families with their wealth, we talk all the time about the idea of our goal is not to sell product, but to build plans. Now that goes hand in hand with this idea of thinking long-term. Imagine going to work for a job and all you think about or thought about when you got the job was what you get paid hourly or salary. And that's it. Well, that's kind of short-term thinking. Now, when you think about big picture, if you said, okay, I have a plan for my life. I want to have a certain level of wealth. I want to take certain levels of vacations. I want to buy types of homes here. I want to leave this kind of legacy to my family, all these things. In other words, you're thinking bigger picture. That's exactly what I'm talking about when we think about the fact that wealthy families, one of the first habits that wealthy families have is they think in terms of decades. They think long term. They have a game plan. Now, it's okay if you yourself don't have a specific game plan for your own life. Remember, sometimes we need help along the way. In order for you to get to where you want to go, especially if it's a place that you've never been, you need to get advice and help from those that are already there. That's why I wanted to share this with you. So I want to challenge you to change your thinking from short-term to long-term. One great way to do that is start thinking about this idea of delayed gratification. Here's a simple way to think about it. When you go purchase something, a car, a new purse, a watch, going out to restaurants and spending lots of money, does purchasing those items move you closer to or further from the goal, big picture goal that you have? Here's another great question. Is now the time to make those purchases, or should you wait a little while until your income and wealth builds until it actually makes sense to buy those purchases? In other words, what you're doing is you're training yourself to start to think about your own life in a longer term lens. If you have a business or you want to start a business, right? You're thinking about your life and the growing of that company in a longer term lens. And here's a great way to think about it. If you have a business or you want to start a business, what do you see or what would you love to see your business operating like 5 years from now? So you're starting out today. Maybe you've been in business 3 or 4, 5, 6 years. Maybe you say, you know what? I'm really starting to hit a stride. And I believe in 5 years, the business is going to look like this. If you have that picture, that vision. Sometimes that vision needs to help be created by someone else who has greater success than you. So one of the first things that you might do that might help you is actually get rid of your pride. Healthy pride is personal responsibility in daily endeavors. Unhealthy pride is thinking you know everything about everything. I got to tell you, in my career of owning companies and helping families, one of the biggest things that helped me catapult my success was reducing my thought personally that I knew everything and that I was unwilling to accept and receive advice. So that's a big catalyst to help you really grow. But start thinking longer term. You want your business to be in a certain place in 5 years, all right? Based on that, how would you operate in your business 5 years from now if you were at that level? Simple example. If you're going to buy merch, this is a little merch shirt from one of my companies, right? Here we go. A little W, Inner Circle. So we have a little club called the Inner Circle at one of the companies I have, Wall Private Wealth. Well, why do we have merch like this? Because a while back, I thought, what do we want to have? We want to create privacy. We want to create this idea of, I want to be there. I want to know what it looks like. Instead of just having a Wall Private Wealth shirt, I'm thinking forward and saying, what do I want to do? And I thought about this years ago. Maybe you're in a place where you buy a shirt. This is Holderness and Bourne. My cost for this shirt is over $100 a shirt. Now, you might say that's crazy. But what I know is I want to be in a place in building a company where we have quality product. The umbrellas that we give away. This is very practical and tidbit, but I think it applies. Umbrellas that we give away, we actually partnered with the Breakers, one of the top resorts in America, to actually have their number 18 hole. You can see a picture of their 18th hole on the underside of the umbrella, and our logo is on the upside. It's a really cool umbrella. My hard cost, actual cost for that umbrella is almost $80 an umbrella. Think about that for a minute. So when you think about it, I'm literally in a place where I'm spending a lot of money or a decent amount of money for quality things. So that way, when we hand them to our clients and we hand them to the people we work with, they say, wow, this is really, really nice. Why is that important? Because it helps you to think long term. Now, you can bring that thought all the way back to your personal life when you think about what are you actually doing with your wealth? Are you thinking about this long term? I'm sharing business ideas and thoughts here real quick because one of the greatest ways initially to build your wealth is to get your income up. Often one of the great ways to get your income up is by owning your own company or starting a business of some sort. So this is so important. Think long term. Don't think about just today. Think about where you want to be in the future and how you would align things in relation to that. All right, so the second habit that wealthy families have is they're absolutely obsessed with tax efficiency. Now, this is so important because one of the greatest drivers that literally keep your wealth down is taxes. It's one of the greatest costs you ever have. Remember, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. So important. So if you are in a place where you're excited about your income, I've joined the $1 Million Club. I've joined the $2 Million Club. Or maybe you're not quite there yet and you've joined the $100,000 Club. Whatever it is. And you're getting excited about that. And that's all you focus on. What you should be focusing on is what you actually get to keep from the income that you've earned. One of the other companies that I have actually does soup to nuts tax planning for families that make $2 million of income a year or more. Now, the reality of it is one of the things we focus on at that company is being in a place where we minimize, by a lot of strategy, taxes paid. Why does that matter and why is that a habit of the wealthy families that we've worked with over the years? Well, it's become a habit because what they realize is when they spend maybe more sometimes for great quality tax planning, they end up saving more in taxes. And you guessed it. When you save more in taxes, you have more to invest. You have more to buy real estate. You have more to invest in different deals. You have more to grow your wealth. You have more to invest in a company that you have. This is so important. Being obsessed with lowering your tax bill. Not just making money, but actually lowering your tax bill. The next thing that's really important that I've seen as a habit along the way is the idea of investing in relationships. You know, there's so many times that I've seen wealthy families or aspiring to be wealthy families over the years have their wealth blown up or reduced significantly because they started chasing different deals, that they really didn't do the diligence, they really didn't do the research, they weren't sure what to look for, and they started investing in hype, and they started investing in ideas. One of the things that I found is you have to build a tremendous amount of trust with where you invest your money, and that takes time. Now, when I say trust, I'm not just talking about the trust of the relationship with the person that is offering you different opportunities. I'm also talking about the trust in the different deals and investments that they might be invested in themselves. So this is something that you want to make sure you absolutely take time asking that question when you're working with another investor, working with an advisor. Tell me a little bit about your track record. Tell me a little bit about your history. Tell me a little bit about how you find the deals that you bring to the table for the families and investments that you utilize. Where do they come from? How long has the relationship been had? What's the success rate? All of those things actually matter. And one of the things that I know that we look at when we serve families over the years is we spend a lot of time on due diligence. And as new deals and new opportunities come to the table, we often say no to much more than what we say yes to. Have great relationships with those you invest money in. And I don't mean become best friends to the place where you actually allow your friendship to skew your business relationship. That's a little side note that I want to share with you. It's so important. We say it all the time. Business is business and friends are friends. Don't ever forget that. You might be in a place where you build a relationship with someone. You say, I trust this person. I've known them for a long time and they're a good friend. However, they might not give you the kind of information or advice necessary to really help you go to the next level and grow to the next level. I've seen that over the years all the time because the families that have come to us for second opinions on their wealth with some of the other companies that I have are in a place where they have wealth now because we have certain minimum. And what happens is they say, you know what? I just don't feel like I'm maximizing my overall wealth. My advisor's been a friend for years, but I feel like I'm not maximizing my wealth. This is so important because oftentimes the advice that we get, we've actually graduated from and we're moving to the next level. Imagine being in a situation where you were trying to get your master's degree or your PhD. You would expect that you would have different professors teaching you that than the professors that taught you in undergrad, or even your high school teachers. They're different professors focused on teaching you different things. So as you continue to move up the lane, or move up the ladder, if you will, with your wealth, one of the great things you have to ask yourself is, does this relationship that I currently have, which is providing investment and tax advice for me now, does it match the level of success that I am currently at? More often than not, what I've found is just because you have a relationship with someone that's been helping you over the years doesn't necessarily mean they're the best in the future. Here's a simpler way to say it. What got you to where you are is probably not what's going to get you to where you want to go. All right, so the other thing, I talked about this kind of briefly, but the wealthy build structures, not just accounts, trust, entities, other layers of protections around their wealth. They're literally in a place where they realize the value of relinquishing ownership, but maintaining control. Now, you hear this on a lot of different videos going around social media and a lot of different things. And so what happens a lot of times is people can say, oh, I want to go do that, or I want to go to this, I want to go to this, I got to set this up. You really have to take a look at what is necessary for your specific situation. And this is why you need to get some great guidance. And then really be thinking about the idea of, okay, here's my financial situation. Here's my wealth or family situation. What do I really need to protect me in the future? Now, one of the hardest things sometimes for people is finding great advice along the way to help you with your wealth. One of the things that I would suggest is think about when you're working for an entity or a firm or an advisor, etc., just think about the level of clientele that they have. Who are they currently working with? Are they people that have a lot of wealth? Are they people that are in the environment from a wealth perspective that you're in? And if they are, it doesn't necessarily mean they have all of the solutions and strategies, but it means you at least have someone that's familiar with working with your type of situation. And I think that's so important. You need to ask some of these questions. The other thing that I'll say, the fifth habit, which I think is important, is stay opportunistic. You know, it's so often in life, I found that people can sometimes get closed off, have a closed off mindset. Maybe it's because of fear. Maybe it's because of missed opportunity in the past. Maybe it's because they're in a situation where they took the advice of someone and it didn't work out well for them. And so for all of those reasons, it causes them to kind of lose a little glimmer in their eye. They lose a little bit of an opportunistic mindset. Stay curious. Stay opportunistic. Stay in the mindset that what you're doing now, investment-wise, may not necessarily be what you do in the future. I'll give you a real practical example. In some of the investment firms that I have over the years, the investments themselves have changed. However, the goals have stayed the same. What are the goals? The goals are to make quality double-digit possible returns, great tax savings, be in a place where we can have nice cash flow, and return capital in a reasonable period of time. Those are the goals when we're looking for investments, when we're adding them into the mix. But the investments themselves have changed. As an example, years ago, back in the early 2000s, it was very opportunistic to invest in CCRCs, continuing care retirement communities. And the reason was because of the baby boomer generation. They were getting older, their parents were needing care, they were moving to that place, so there was demand there. Now, as we look at things, as an example, multifamily properties, storage, and a variety of other things are opportunistic still today. Well, years ago, those properties existed, but there were many more people 20, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, that literally owned home than people that own homes today. So therefore, there's more opportunity in different places. Now, that's one simple example, and there's a lot of other things. You could look at AI, you could look at a lot of other different ideas, and obviously we've done some other shows on the Invest Well show talking about investment opportunities, so make sure you're on YouTube or Spotify or iTunes, wherever you are, and go back and scroll through and look at some of the content so you can be aware of some opportunity that exists. But you want to stay opportunistic. And I got to tell you, oftentimes, the reason that people do not stay opportunistic is because someone somewhere has done something, or maybe you yourself have made a bad decision, which has kind of poured water on the fire of your financial life, and that's caused you to get more repressive and less opportunistic. And I will tell you this, if you don't work on that mindset for yourself, one thing you can guarantee for sure is you will miss out on opportunity when it comes. Why? Because you'll be unwilling to take steps in areas that you need to take to grow your wealth. Now, I'm not talking about being reckless and going out and just chasing the next big thing without doing any real research around it and making sure that you feel good about what you're doing. I'm not suggesting that. What I am suggesting is making sure that you stay open to the fact that there's going to be ways in the future that you'll be able to make money and build wealth that didn't exist several years ago. A wonderful opportunity is Bitcoin. Everybody's talking about the fact that Bitcoin keeps growing and growing and growing. There's ETFs at big companies like BlackRock and others where you can actually invest in Bitcoin. So it's something that wasn't on the scene, and now it is. And those that have said, I don't agree, I don't think, I'm not sure, have missed out on some significant opportunity. So you want to be staying open and opportunistic while you research the ideas that you have. Listen, here's what I want to land the plane with as you look at some of the 5 habits of wealthy families that we've worked with. Take steps to implement, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. Wherever you are on the spectrum, maybe you're starting out and you're building wealth. Maybe you already have some wealth and you need just different advice and different thoughts. Take steps that are actionable that will help you change the decisions in your life and make decisions in your life which will take you further from where you currently are and closer to where you want to go. Be blessed. Share this with someone that needs to hear it. A parent, a child, a friend. Subscribe, dial in, and listen, we'll talk to you next time.